thank you all for being here tonight. Welcome to the April 11th, 2024 meeting of the Decatur Architectural Review Board. I will call roll with each commission member answering present. Ellis Chenault. Present. Barbara Kelly.
Present.
Patrick Raskin.
Present.
Michael Rogers.
Present.
I'm Jacob Woods, the board chair, and we have a quorum present. Dr. Swope is the city's preservation specialist. Thank you to everyone who is attending today. Your involvement in this commission's proceeding is vital to the effectiveness of this process. There is a copy of the agenda out front if you would like one. Historic designation or historic district designation means your neighborhoods have been recognized by the United States government, the state of Alabama, and the city of Decatur as being architecturally or historically significant to our community. Historic districts are not created to prevent changes, but rather to ensure that the proposed changes are appropriate to the individual property and the districts as a whole. The board's responsibility is to review the appropriateness of all proposed changes. Each historic resource within the districts is assessed on its own individual merits, which is what is appropriate for one property may not be appropriate for another based on resource age, location, neighboring properties, and stylistic details. The Architectural Review Board's rulings are based on written standards and regulations that guide our review and decision-making. These guidelines and the Commission's decisions have the force of city ordinance. You can access our guidelines along with application forms on the city's website. Our hearing process is as follows. Staff will present the applications. When they read your name and property address, please be prepared to come to the podium. Staff will present the application and staff assessment of each request. When staff has finished presenting the application item, the applicant and/or designated representative will then state their name and address and provide any additional information or comments regarding that application item. The board may ask clarifying questions of the applicant at this time. Next, we will hear any public comments on that particular application item only. After public comment has closed, the chair will entertain a motion and the board will discuss and dispense of that application item. Staff will then proceed to the next application item and so forth. An approved certificate of appropriateness, or COA, will be issued in the form of an email that CC'd both the applicant and the building department approximately 1 week after this hearing. The document will outline and reaffirm what was approved and that the project has been approved. A COA must be issued before a building permit can be obtained. If any changes to your project are anticipated after the COA is issued, it is the responsibility of the homeowner to contact staff and she will help guide you. In some cases, you may be required to submit the changes for review and issuance of a new COA. If your project is denied and you are not issued a COA, you will be issued a letter stating the reason for denial and additional information. Denied COAs will be sent via certified mail to the property owner's address filed with the Morgan County Revenue Commissioner's office. You may resubmit an application with revised plans at a future meeting. There is an appeal process for a denied COA as well, which is spelled out in the municipal ordinance under section 1825 and 1892. After all applications are heard, the commission will entertain general comments from the public, limited to 3 minutes per individual. All right, our first item of business is to approve the minutes from our January 11th, 2023 meeting, since we had no meetings in February or March. Do I have a motion?
Move to accept as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, those are approved. Next item of business are expedited COAs since the January meeting.
Busy construction season. There have been 18 COAs reviewed and approved since our January meeting. 813 Ferry, which was to remove a non-contributing rear porch that was in arrears. 813 Ferry to remove a wheelchair ramp. 1018 Sherman, which was for new front stair hand railing. 421 6th Avenue, new front porch ceiling lights. 623 Johnston Street, new roof. 1036 Sherman, new roof. 421 6th, replace the compromised porch columns. And Mr. Duper is very happy that I think we are on the tail end of that project. I think that might, if it's not our last COA with him, we're reaching the very finished line on that one. It's been a big project. Let's see, 813 Ferry, remove 6 dying trees off the property. 422 Oak, new roof. 306 Lafayette, new roof. 813 Ferry, remove cementous siding. If you have not seen that, it looks fabulous. That doesn't happen very often. 805 Grant, new roof. 1044 Jackson, new roof. 119 Cherry, new roof. 651 Grant, new roof. 503 Ferry, repair damaged fascia and soffit on house and replace missing garage post. 204 Canal, replace approximately 700 feet of rotting siding. 601 Line, reshingle eave portions of roof. And Delano Park, replace 21 trees that were removed. For the new COAs for this meeting, the first one is 1036 Jackson, and this is in the Albany district. You will see it on the map there. This is for a new front door and repair of rear. And I will just say for the record, this is my neighbor, so I know them very well. This particular property, it is a Dutch colonial. It is one of the original mill management houses for Albany. So the vice manager of Connecticut Cotton Mills lived here, thus the New England style house. What you're looking at here is the rear door. It is not an original addition. It is a much later addition. Originally, I had thought they had wanted to replace the door, but they think they're going to see if they can hold on to the door. They're just going to do some work on the siding, which is typically something that I could address, but since we already had it as part of another COA, I've just packaged them in together. And the main portion of this is the front door. So the front door has started, the concrete stoop sort of slopes towards the front, which causes moisture issues. There is no major porch on this house, which is probably fine in New England with snow, probably not so good where you get 50 some inches of rain a year, and that is causing challenges with the door. And so if you look on here, you can see where water has come down. This is actually the interior here. The door just is no longer, it's warped to the point it's not sitting in the frame properly. So that even though there is weather stripping, this is the kind of gap that we have. And you can really see on this picture, it's hard to photograph. I could see it much better in person than it shows in the photographs. But you can see the decay is starting on this bottom panel. You can also see it on the interior white panel as well. And so they were looking for a replacement door since this one is sort of warped and it's just not catching properly. This is what they were able to find at Gobble Fight. It is not an exact replica, but it's very close. It just has a slightly smaller percentage of glazing. Is smaller. The design review guidelines for doors and entrances, 7.1, preserve and maintain original doors and entrances. 7.2, repair consistent with historic materials. And then for this one, 7.3, if historic doors are beyond repair, replacement doors should match the originals. And in this case, we have the original. Staff assessment, the commission has authorized front door replacement on a case-by-case basis, solely as needed. The original front door has weathered quite a bit. Some of the lower panels appear to be rotting. The door is starting to separate at the seams, and it has warped to the point where it's difficult to properly close. The proposed new door is wood. It matches the historic door closely, and the only difference is the glazing percentages. The board should confirm that the door will be painted, since a painted finish is historically accurate for this time period, and clarify the hardware installation on the door. And with the rear door, that's not an original unit, it's the rear of the house. It is not visible from the street, and the commission has never been concerned with doors of that sort in terms of being concerned with voting against anything occurring. They've always been very flexible on the rears. Any questions for the applicant?
This up to us first.
Pardon?
Does anybody up here have a comment on this? One thing I would say is the door being beyond repair. I mean, I know there's warps, but is there any way to rebuild this?
I can answer the question. I'm Steve, I'm the owner of the house. We've tried to patch it up a couple of times. The main problem is the casing where the deadbolt and the latch go in. There's no more wood left really for the two to land. But in the meantime, I've tried to patch the door up. There's some separation of underneath the window there of the structural parts of the door. So being long in the tooth, for lack of a better term, it's just getting to the point where maybe it's just better to just do the whole thing instead of just piecemealing a repair.
Well, this one you're purchasing, does it come with a jam? Is it all?
Yeah, it comes with the
packaged in?
casing. Actually, I'm going through literal lumber for it. The company is Simpson Door, solid wood, and it's just about as close as I can find for that door. And I'm going to have a contractor put it in. It's going to have a new casing and everything.
So you're going back with the same millwork around it?
That's my intention, yes, sir.
What are the hardware pieces in the center of the door there?
One's a door knocker and one's a little piece B all who enter or something like that there.
Are those original or just something that's been?
Nah, I don't think they're original. In with the house.
You're gonna put those back?
I do. I actually am. I am. Yeah, in fact, I'm going to even try to save the door hardware if I can.
Well, even if you change the door hardware, I know it's not submitted, but I know that's something we can allow staff to approve if
Okay.
you do decide to change that
Perfect.
hardware.
Great. Thank you.
Any comments from the public? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve the COA.
I second it.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Jacob, can we clarify that, did you want me to take a review at hardware if you can't get the existing to go
If you
back on?
can't get the existing to work,
Okay,
you can review
And-
that, and if you have any questions, I
okay. And did you clarify if the material would be painted?
can,
My intention is to
paint it Yes.
away.
Okay, all right. Thank you. I will get that in the notes. Okay, thank you. I will get your approved COA out next week.
Okay, great. Thanks, sir.
410 Sherman. This is near the intersection of 4th and Sherman, within the Albany District, circa 1919. This is a new front yard fence. So this is the house. There is a sketch, and this is a new type of fence that I don't think we've seen before. Design review guidelines for fences and walls, 16.5. New fences should be compatible with the associated building site in streetscape and height, proportion, material, and design. Wood, picket, or metal fence materials are appropriate in front yards and side yards within public view. 16.6, fences in front and side yards shall not exceed a height of 3 feet. The commission has historically approved 3-foot tall picket fences in front yards. This fence is slightly different in construction method because instead of setting it in wooden posts that go into concrete, it is using metal stakes, which creates actually a more temporary fence that has the ability to replace individual panels as needed instead of major carpentry work. And this is just another one where the board needs to confirm that the fence will be painted or stained with an opaque stain, but everything else was in the application.
I had a question about this. It doesn't, I'm not familiar with this, and it doesn't look like it would be particularly stable, like over time. Are these gonna start moving and look like a maintenance issue?
We haven't had one of these to review before. The board has in past with new materials or new construction techniques sometimes approved things as a case study. And so this is one where the board's like, wow, this is really interesting, but we don't want to decide that we're gonna start approving all of them because we're not really sure how they're going to last long term. You could certainly approve this with the understanding that this is sort of a case study and you want to monitor it. And we have two other, let's see, we have one for porch flooring, a synthetic porch flooring on Church Street, and on Oak Street we have one for synthetic windows that we've sort of been monitoring over time to see how they hold up. And so if that's something that the board feels strongly about, that certainly is an option to use this one as a study. And we
Avoid
recommend
setting a precedent until we see how it.
to sort of see how it holds up, and we would recommend no more than a 5-year period before they come back to, before you come back to assess if it's gonna be a permanently allowed, material.
I did look this product up. I think it was Yardlink was the company, but what's shown here is not stained. It is coming in cedar. And are you planning to paint the panels and the posts, post stained black, or what's
Yes,
the
we're gonna
process?
leave the post black, but we're gonna paint the pickets white. So it'll essentially be a white picket fence. It'll just have the metal connectors.
Because I was looking it up, I saw some pictures of it white, and they had painted the post, and they didn't do a good job painting
Yeah, I
it.
know.
Okay. I didn't have any other questions. Anybody?
And I'm just asking, like, have you seen one where they painted the post the same as the?
I have not seen a picture of it. We looked up some photos on Google before we really looked at purchasing it or, carrying through with this. And what we saw there were already some panels that were painted white, but at our local Home Depot and Lowe's, they don't sell that. So we just bought this, and I haven't seen any pictures of the post painted, but they do sell them as white metal as well.
Okay. And is this something that you guys are going to install yourselves?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you'll take extra care to make sure those lines are straight and it's not
Oh, yes.
got any of this
Oh, yes.
splay to it?
Yes.
Okay.
All the tedious work. It'll be worth it.
I don't have any other.
Jake, I have a question architecturally. What, is this fence called dog-eared? Is that the top, is that,
Yeah, the top of it.
is there any differentiation between that and one that's more of a pointed or fleur-de-lis kind of a top?
I don't think our guidelines specify the top style
Okay, I'm just,
that I've seen. I know we've talked about, I think it's got some on the taller fence. Talks about the dog ears, but not the short one.
okay.
Did you see something in there?
No, I just, thought just crossed my mind. And how far back from the sidewalk will the fence be?
12 inches.
Sorry,
12 inches.
12 inches?
Mhm.
I know the sidewalk is not the property line, it's back in, so that's why I asked.
Can you pull the house picture back up? Just trying to see if there's anything on the porch that would dictate it, but it's. Does that
Yeah.
porch have alternate pickets?
No, it does not.
That's the only style, is it? Okay.
talks about height, but it does not talk about the top style. We have quite a few pictures, and there's a lot of variety in those, so I would be okay with that. Any other questions, comments? Do I have a motion?
My concern, and that may be a motion, would be to do it as a case study, because I am concerned about the length of, that the posts go into the ground. and,
Sure.
You know, whether or not over time it's gonna stay up straight and look
Yeah.
correct.
I think it's about 6 or 7 inches that goes into the ground.
And that's literally just in the ground, there's no concrete or anything around
No,
that?
there's not.
It's just
Okay.
a stake.
Yes, what's an appropriate time for a case study on
A year.
a year?
What have we done before? I mean,
With the other materials, they've been windows and porch decking, so they need longer wear times. If you feel a year is fine to assess this, and that after that year you would,
I'd rather let it go a season or, you know, a year or two or so,
like
just,
a couple seasons.
yeah, to see how it does over time.
Yeah, you can add that to the motion. It's just clarifying that it's a case study.
Yeah.
not a blanket approval.
Approval, yeah. So I make a motion, we do a case study approval with a two-year, maybe even 3-year.
A 2 to 3 year.
Two.
Let's do a 2-year review
Okay.
of how the material's holding up.
Sure.
Do I have a second?
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
thank you. "650 Jackson Street. This is a complex landscaping and rear remodel. We've broken it into 2 separate votes to keep the landscaping portion separate from the historic house portion. And we have, if I remember correctly, 2 commissioners that felt they needed to recuse themselves. One for being a neighbor and the other for working closely with Mr. Shelton. So we're gonna have you 2 step off the dais. And we've got our 3. So background on this, 650 Jackson, Queen Anne Victorian, constructed circa 1905, located in the Albany district. For the first vote, it's backyard improvements, including a swimming pool. The majority of the COA is for hardscape, a lap pool, and fenestration alterations to the late 20th century addition. The brick wall around the property will need to have both gates moved to accommodate new landscaping plan. Although the original COA requests painting the brick wall that has been removed from the scope of this project, the applicant is not requesting to paint that wall, so that is not part of this. Decatur's design review guidelines. This is fairly complex. These are the best images to put in here. Pools, fountains, gazebos, pergolas, 1814. Locate swimming pools in backyards where they're not readily visible. 1815, screen pools using landscaping and/or fencing. The design review guidelines do not have specific portions that address the proposed changes in the non-historic addition, but there is one portion that addresses new windows and glass coloration that may be relevant for the COA, which is 1416. Tinted glass is not appropriate for historic dwellings in any area that's visible from public view, and low E glass can be used if not tinted. Staff assessment, the pool, associated hardscaping, landscaping, similar in scope to other projects the commission has approved. Existing brick wall screens the pool. The late 20th century addition is not part of the original structure. Steel windows were not used on houses in this period, but the majority of these windows that are going into that addition and on the rear are replacement windows for non-historic portions of the building. And so this vote is for essentially what you're seeing in here. So it's not removing the historic window for the house, that is a separate vote. This is for the rest of the portions with the plan. One thing that we did not have additional information on that you might want to clarify with the applicant are the awnings over the new doors in terms of material. And the front walkway, the two different plans sort of show two different variations. One of them is showing orbs, but it's not clear. We don't have any elevations to indicate what those are. So this might be a point to clarify some of the details on this. And I will go back to, would you like this one or would you like the elevations? What's the one you would prefer to have up?
That one's good. I've got a quick question. The windows at the top, back left, are those similar to what is going in the renovation? Are they original, or are they?
I'm Clint Shelton, and I'm the homeowner. Are you talking about back there on the backside?
Yes, sir. They just look like they complement what's going in. I thought it might be even be the same.
They're all gonna be the same.
This is my wife, Nicole. The same, no, they're not gonna be the same.
Here.
So they're
And
they're
Scott
not,
Scholl,
those are
our
not original.
architect,
That's
he's
what
better
you're
at this.
looking at. Yeah.
That's a good question. Actually, go back to that. I'm Scott, by the way.
And I want to clarify so I get my notes correct. These are the windows you're talking about,
The
Patrick?
windows
Yes.
in the radius or the
Yeah.
ones on the second
Oh,
floor?
These.
Yeah, those up
The
there.
ones on the second
Go back to the
floor.
drawing a second. I think I can answer. There you go. So the blue represents the steel drawings, and we tried to size the individual window panes to work with what was there. Now, we're looking at the windows that you were asking about at the very top. Are they original?
No.
They're not
That's the new section.
original. Okay. So the original windows in this structure were all double hung, single pane windows, with the exception of this addition, and you see a lot of this back here. Now, the doors that were there were rotted badly. So they were made, I think, 20 years ago, and were all mahogany, beautiful doors and windows, but there's no overhang. So, as you can imagine, there's a lot of rot there. And then the area that you see there, just off to the left of that, they're also staying in their wood, but that's in a round room there. So we just tried to pick up as best we could sort of the rhythm to scale those windows and get something there that, you know, uncovered wouldn't rot. You know, that's what I think we've done there. So you don't see that right there, but in the middle of those windows is a door that looks like the two doors beside. And whether those are windows or doors, we don't know that yet, but we're gonna probably go with a door that swings in and what's called a Juliet rail there, so people can't fall out, but we can open that up. But that's what that is.
It looks like you're just adjusting the screen porch on the far, the door to the
We're
left.
gonna move the door to the center, so it's currently on the right.
Okay. I think the steel windows are nice. I like those. They're a little modern for the house, but since this is an addition and kind of it's a corner house, so you know, it's kind of, doesn't really have a good backyard. You can see a lot from the road. But because it is an addition to the house, I'm okay with this type of window going into this part of the house.
Yeah, I think you did a great job of complementing what's already on the existing structure.
As for the pool layout, everything was fine in the backyard for the hardscape. I didn't have an issue with that.
What's the small door on the lower level at the left? Is that like a screen porch area?
Well, yeah, let's talk about that.
Well, that's the basement access, I know there.
So Jake, you know the doors that go to the basement of your office building?
Yeah.
Okay,
Take
right
it.
now they have something like that, and they're so, Clint uses it all the time, and they're so heavy, they're hard to open up. So really, we thought there, let's just get rid of those and do a new kind of brick foundation wall and a new door underneath there that you don't have to open up those doors. So if you look at the plan, you can see a circular staircase that goes down that sort of follows the house now, rather than what was there. So there's gonna be some excavation there. I don't know if you have a plan or access to a
Yeah.
plan,
Can
Caroline.
you go back to a plan?
Yeah, it
can
might
pull
not be
one,
in
but I
here.
don't have one on here. Do you guys want me to go into the original doc and pull it up?
I remember what it was, because it's pretty neat, the
Yeah,
way
it's just the
it
two
curves
doors.
around. The door I was actually talking about is the one that's farther left. That's
Yeah.
That's just moved over one.
That's the screen porch. I think it was in the panel all the way to the right, and they're moving it to the middle panel.
Okay.
But it looks like it's the same door style that what was
It's the
there.
exact same door, I believe.
Yeah, we're gonna move the whole.
We're just moving it to a different location.
Gotcha, okay.
I haven't seen that either.
And what about the awnings? What are they made of?
I'm sorry.
The awnings over the doors?
Those are all intended to be copper and just patina, but there needs to be some coverage there, I think. We got some water problems.
Gunther did the roofs on the back, and we wanna match those.
Can you pull
Copper, good.
the awning picture up again? And your brackets, it's just a scroll?
Those are just a scroll, and that's just gonna be painted black steel to match the windows. Now, the sconces there are new, and I'm not sure they'll be somewhat close to that style, but I don't know that Nicole has selected those yet.
Just a question, the front porch has that scallop on it. Did you consider matching those supports to the front?
I did.
Yeah, I just kind of copied the picture that Nicole gave me on that, so.
You go to the front porch, you see what we're talking, please.
I just wanted, the pieces that are there at the front, I wondered if you took half of what's there and kind of repeated it. Might tie it together, just a thought.
Well, there's others on the back side that are,
More like what you're using? Okay, all right, so, good deal. Which one of those is correct?
Landscape architect did that, I don't know.
I actually, the one on the right I've never seen, but you know, I think the orbs have already, are gone. I think that's changed already.
But like the one that has the longer sidewalk is the correct one probably?
The one on the left.
Yeah.
But
Without the orbs?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one on the right, that's not even enough space, doesn't look like.
That looks like an early version, probably.
Yeah, because that's not. It's just gonna be like bluestone,
All flat.
flat, all flat, and no orbs. That's the first time. I guess I didn't realize the circles were orbs.
Any other questions?
Nicely done.
Right here. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve as discussed.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the second vote on this one is for window replacement in the historic portion of the house. And so that's what you see here. Here's the proposed replacement. This is to remove a period stained glass windows, double hung with a transom above, and the stairwell on the west elevation, replaced with contemporary multi-light steel windows. This removal of the period stained glass windows does not show in the site plan, but it does show on the detail on the 601 plan and on the labeled photo. It caters design review standards, 14 windows, 14.1, preserve and maintain historic windows and significant elements such as frames, chassis, shutters, hardware, sills, trim, molding. 14.2, maintain existing historic windows where possible. 14.13, repair rather than replace existing historic windows where possible. 14.4, replace in kind using replacement windows that match existing historic elements as closely as possible. So that is the plan, that is the area. It shows the stairwell, so it's in the front section. I had asked if anyone had interior photos. These are quite old, but they do show the
What a
full-size
pretty
and
girl.
scope.
When was that?
Who is that?
What a pretty, my wife.
That's your wife?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Oh.
So those are the windows. Historic stained glass windows are rare in our two historic districts and are considered character-defining features for Victorian-era homes when they exist. The Municipal Design Review Guidelines address the importance of preserving the historic windows. The board has historically required that character-defining details, including historic windows, be retained regardless of location. The proposed replacement window is a metal multi-light unit with a multi-light transom and does not appear to meet guideline 14.4, nor is the design one and found in Queen Anne windows within our district, even in wood form. It is contemporary in nature.
So when did those come into the house? Do we know that?
The stained glass, they're original.
They are original?
Whoops.
Caroline, how do we know they're original?
Well, the house was built early 1900s. That's a turn of the century window design from that period. Stained glass windows from the 30s through the 70s look very different. They just have different coloration, different shapes.
Different texture.
Yeah, different texture. Well, yeah, you know from your time with First Baptist, all the window restoration work you guys did, it's a very different,
So architecturally, what's driving the replacement?
Light, clear light.
And being consistent with the metal doors, or what's the proper word for what we want to do on the backside?
Fenestration back there?
And then the front part, the front door, and the front windows on the front porch also have metal windows up above them. And we just want to have synergies with what we've got on the backside that we want to do with the metal doors. And like Nicole just said, we want natural light coming into the house. And this is a big portion of the house.
I think the hard thing for me is that all these houses have character-defining features, and once they're gone, they're gone. And, you know, that's kind of what makes our historic district is because of those character-defining features.
Well, we would take them out and put them in our basement and crate them and hold on to them.
I mean, it's still taking it out of the house. So once I can't guarantee that it goes back in or that it stays in proper condition. So that's the hard part for me. Were there other ones in this house besides this one?
Yeah, they're on the backside on our garage.
Let me,
But they're not like these.
Yeah.
let me go ahead and address these a little bit. I definitely realize how legitimate your point is there, and I'm not sure I would say anything that would counteract that.
Scott, just a minute. I can't hear because of the commotion.
We stand up.
Give me just a minute, yeah, if you would.
Yeah.
I just can't hear.
So these windows, these stained glass windows were originally double hung with the weights in there, and they still operate. And so what we were trying to do with this is emulate the size and scale of a portion of the windows, making windows that fit there, that operated with the weights and all, and just do the best we could with that. But Nicole, on that staircase right there, all the light that comes into the staircase is all colored with that stained glass, and it's significant. I mean, it colors the whole house red and yellow and all that. So I understand where she's coming from. So this is an attempt to address that as historically accurate as we could, but it's your call.
Any other comments? Have a motion?
motions are always in the affirmative, just.
I'll make a motion to approve the removal of the stained glass window and replacement. As shown. Second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Hey, aye. Yay.
All those opposed?
Can we put a condition on it? That they're safely removed, kept with the house, with the hopes that if it's ever sold, they'll be reinstalled?
We don't have the ability
We don't
to
have the
put
ability
that
to do
condition, and we don't have the ability to
We're
require
gonna
it on
do that
this.
regardless, 100%. I wanted to do this for 28 years, and I'll break them and they'll be perfectly safe.
Okay.
I promise.
Got it.
Well, so all those in favor, all those opposed, say no.
Reluctantly, no.
Let me make one note here, is that this house sits on the corner, and two facades face streets. This is on the facade that doesn't face the street, it faces the house, maybe 20 feet away. That's probably the only redeeming quality that, not redeeming quality, but it's something to think about.
Mitigating factor. Is, are we
Okay,
allowed to
so-
say that it's a great example of the architecture very well maintained?
Yeah.
We've got a vote, motion is on the floor, we've had a vote, 1 in favor, 2 opposed, motion fails to carry.
I did it. Did you? Yeah. I'm okay with it.
Yeah,
So,
so I have you in favor, and Chenault and Woods opposed, so motion fails to carry.
Correct.
So this one did not pass. I will send out a letter and additional information on that. You guys, I can call you tomorrow if you'd like.
Okay.
Okay. 812 Johnston Street. And do we have a representative from that project here? I didn't get a chance to look. 812 Johnson? Jacob, do you mind if we hold on that one for them to come?
Yes, we can push that one down on the agenda. if
Yeah,
need
we
to.
can push. So the next one would be Ferry,
Yeah, will be number 7.
813 Ferry. House is located in the old Decatur district, constructed circa 19. There are several CAOs for this house. You may recognize the address that have been staff approved, removing cementous siding, removal of old wheelchair ramp, removal of non-historic deck on a non-historic rear addition. Contractor had gone beyond the original scope of work approved, added a new window, larger on the street side of the rear, cut a larger opening for a new window on the rear addition, and started siding the non-historic addition that was there and enclosing the crawl space. A stop work order was issued, as staff does not have the authority to approve these alterations. And so there are 4 COAs on the agenda for this property. So here it is with the cementous siding removed. I'm very excited about the cementous siding being removed because we don't get to see that very often. This addition was already there, so it is a non-historic addition that was had material failure. So on this COA, it's replacing a window on the Church Street side, and that is right here, with a larger 1/1, and I had double hung, but I think this is actually a single hung. This was done without a COA, so this is a retroactive one. And to replace a larger window on the alley side, and this is framed out, but there is no window in there right now. And replace a prior rotting door with a new solid door. And so this door was already placed in. So there is a better example of the window on Church Street, and this is the proposed window that they would like to put in right here. Whoops. Design review standards. The addition on the rear of the house is non-historic, and as such, in this case, the windows are treated with new window openings. The larger window opening on Church Street with the proposed 1/1 double-hung wood window is in character with the windows on the main house. The casement window proposed for the alley side of the rear addition is an uncommon window design in the district, but it was sometimes used on additions. And I would ask that you clarify with the applicant this indeed a casement, because at another point it shows as a sliding window. And as I'm looking at it without being in the frame, it's difficult to tell. Exterior doors from this time period historically have had at least a portion of the door glazed for light and visibility, but the Architectural Review Board historically has not been concerned with glazing on a rear secondary entrance unless a historic door was being removed, and there is no historic door in this case as the addition is contemporary. So if you have any questions for the applicant, and this vote is just for the windows and the door, yeah. So the one window and one door that went in, and the one window that they've cased out for but has not been inserted yet. And if you have concerns about some of them but not all of them, you can certainly break the vote into pieces if you feel that needs to be done.
And the door and the window that's framed out, those are on the back of the house?
They are, it's the newer addition that faces the alley.
I'm fine with the 1/1 on the side and the door. The other windows, the casement, a little confused with the hinges and how all those kind of fit in, because I'm not really understanding that window.
Is that a fixed unit or is it operable?
So when
It
I
looks
reached
fixed.
out, and ladies, I'll have you, yeah, you go ahead and come up here. When I had reached out and asked, I was told it was casement.
Yeah, it's a casement.
So how does it operate then?
Doesn't operate yet, but,
Like, is there a crank on it and it kind of,
yeah, it's,
It kind of looks like a finger pull on one side and a track,
yeah.
like it could be a
does have
sliding.
he pulled, it opens back. It's like a, that's what type window it is. It's actually something he was kind of custom making, that's why it didn't have the frame with it, and was gonna use old hardware with that. That's why it looks like
So it's like a casement
it
window.
does. It is.
Yeah, it should have hinges on the side and it should
It
have a
will.
crank that
Yes,
cranks them
yes,
out.
yes, that's what it's gonna have.
so those aren't physically joined, they're just sitting next to each other?
Yeah.
That's correct.
Gotcha, okay, I thought they were physically joined.
And then on the side right there, I don't know, the same side that's on the house will be on the side right there also. They kind of got ahead and did some things while we didn't know.
So the casement window proposal is on the south side of the house or the
This is
west
the
side?
casement window proposal right here. This is on the alley.
It's on the alley side of the house.
Which is the west side, right?
And I thought the alley was on the south side.
The alley's on the west.
Should be on the west.
Yeah. That big lot.
This window right here, the 1/1 would be on the north side, correct?
Yes. And one side of the
plot.
Well, we'll get to that.
Okay.
So-
Go back to the plot that sits on the property.
So what we're looking at is right here.
That little bump out.
Yeah,
Now, I thought the alley was this way, so.
yeah, and here's the alley right here.
It's not particularly visible from Church Street, I don't think, is it?
No, it's because it's pushed back, so the addition was recessed from the main elevation.
Okay.
Any other comments? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Okay, the next vote on this project is for rear addition siding. And so this is one where the painter got ahead of himself and he started, so this is lap siding on that addition. They halted on this. What they are requesting is this wood shingle on this side. So they want to keep the lap siding on the Church Street side, and on the alley side, they want to switch to this sort of craftsman style cedar butts. Design review standards for this, a 23-0, new construction, a new addition should be compatible with existing building in terms of material, style, color, roof forms, massing, proportion, spacing of doors, windows, details, surface texture, and location. The existing main building has clapboard siding. The enclosed sun porch, I'm gonna go back. This is the enclosed sun porch, so this is above it. This actually does have cedar shake, but it's got it on both sides of the enclosure. Whoops. Either type of siding, either the clapboard or the cedar shake, appears to meet the guidelines, but there are no known historic examples within the district that split siding on two different elevations, with clapboard on one side and wood shingle on a different side.
What was the thought for swapping there?
There's a cottage in the back, and the front side of it is cedar shake. So we thought that would marry well, that the back side. The backyard, you have cedar shake right there on that back, and then you have cedar shake on the front of that cottage. That was the whole thing,
As an architect, one thing that's always bothered me about new construction is the change of material on the outside corner. And I see it all the time, from brick to stone or brick to siding, and it just creates a visual that's not pleasing to me. But since that porch above is shake on both sides, I could see it going either way, either all lap siding or all shake, but not splitting it at the corner. So if you
We didn't
wanted,
think the laps, we didn't think the cedar shake was bad, you know, and he had already started that.
so I would go one way or the other.
I could live with either one.
I could too.
Since you've already got it on the sun porch, I wouldn't use it on the surface porch. I would stick with clap siding.
I'm okay with that. Like I say, our only thought was driving it was that cottage was out there, and it had it on its front face, so.
I just keep the cottage separate, just focus on the house.
Yeah, yeah, that's okay. I'm okay with doing that.
So, Ruth, is it best to have them vote to amend the COA to approve lap on both sides? What is the clearest path on this?
So you can either vote on it as is, deny it if you come forward with a new one,
Or we can amend it.
or you can amend it either way, whatever either way can be done, it's just what preference is.
I mean, make a motion for either one? Or you want to stick with the second?
I don't think
You need
that-
to request the amendment.
Yeah. Not necessarily.
Can we do it, can we approve it with clapboard so that they don't have to come back again?
Yeah.
Are you comfortable with amending the COA so they just approve it with clapboard on both sides? Okay. Okay, then I would say just amend it and make a motion on the amendment. That's correct, Ruth? Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the COA with the following amendment, that the pipe order would be used for both elevations.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Rear foundation panels. So the addition was a pier foundation, and they just want to enclose that, and this is their sample of the lattice work enclosure that they would like to do for this. There are no specific standards for foundation panels because this is sort of getting down into the weeds where we normally aren't at that level. But the panel design proposed is very similar to foundation panels used without the district in the late 19th, early 20th century.
Anything on the front of the house?
No, because it's not on pier foundation.
Is there any differentiation on using lattice in that configuration, the 40, the 45? Is it all versus the vertical horizontal?
Previous COA and this tonight has, the front of the house, it's got it at a 45.
Just asking, just didn't know.
So, I mean, me personally, I have no issue with the lattice work.
No.
The one thing I would say is the lattice work. I prefer it to be painted, not the brick foundation, but the lattice work itself.
Yeah,
Disappear.
yeah.
If you say burn.
I mean, it could be painted whatever color you paint.
It will.
But not the brick,
No, not the brick, just the lattice work.
Painted black, it disappears. But whatever.
We don't control color though.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll make the motion to approve that.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And the last is the rear entry landing. So ignore the cedar shingles, because it's gonna be clapboard, but, they need to put new entry landing on here, similar to what was, on the addition. So they're proposing a 5x5 brick landing with stairs on each end. And although the illustration shows a wood railing, they are actually requesting a metal railing that looks similar to this one. They're also seeking approval for a small shed roofed entry. That is what you are seeing here. Design review standards, 23.0 new construction additions. 23.3 new additions should be compatible with existing building in terms of material, style, color, roof forms, massing, proportion, and spacing of doors, windows, details, surface texture, and location. Contemporary adaptations of the original that clearly look like an addition and reflect the period of construction are encouraged. Staff assessment, historically rear entrances at this time period were wood, but the commission has not historically been concerned with rear entrances as long as they're not considered intrusive in their design. And there are a number of post-World War II era metal railings on both front and rear entrances of houses within the district. And the board has approved a similar shed-roofed rear entrance roofing for other homes in the district. So this particular covering over the doorway, that design has been approved by the commission before for rears.
Is there a pattern in that metal rail? It looks like there's something at the top, but I can't tell what it is.
That's not the.
That's just representative.
It is.
Okay. And can you show the front of the house again?
Give me a second, it's gonna take a little bit.
Could I ask a larger question for the overall scheme, because, I want it to be cohesive, but we plan in the future to have rails coming down the steps. And also Willis Peak, that'll be another COA coming, and then also reestablishing that second patio. So if we were gonna have iron on the back, we'd want iron everywhere, or it'd be wood.
So if I'm understanding correctly, you're talking about that second level balcony right there that would have a rail added on it?
That's correct. See, there's a door on the second floor.
Right.
Originally, there was a walkout, and so I want it to be cohesive. So, we have handrails coming down the steps.
Yeah.
And what's around that balcony and what's around the
windows.
We want it all, and what's around the back entrance would all be the same type of railing.
So you need to use wood in the back then,
Because it'll have to be wood out front, is that correct?
everywhere else. Widows Walk, second landing,
If it's,
yeah.
you know,
So it won't, it can be iron, it has to be wood.
the period. That
Metal,
answers.
metal would be appropriate for the entrance steps to the house, because historically, they actually typically didn't use railings, and so the metal railings come later.
Okay.
But that is, as Mr. Rogers has said, the roof and that second floor deck walkout, historically, if there was something there, it would have been wood.
In your opinion, would I be better to stay wood all the way, or would I be okay with the iron rails on the steps, the stairway?
We have a precedent for a metal rail independent of the front on the back, correct? So you could have a metal rail on the back, but just not on the front, second, and Widow's Peak.
But I could, but the entry steps, could
You can have metal rail on the front entry steps
And on the back.
and in the
Because
back
I
entry
don't even
steps,
know
just
how
not
to
the
do
second
it.
floor in the
Okay,
Widows.
thank you.
So I would like probably the iron rail, because I don't even know how we could put a wood rail on these entry steps.
Yeah.
It would look
Yeah.
right,
Would you have a rail around the porch itself, or would it just be left open?
just there,
Okay,
just down.
you may be better off with it.
But we felt like we needed, you know, on the front steps, and I want those to match the back steps. So I would stay with the iron, something simple.
By any chance, is there a historic photo that shows the rails on the second floor in the Widow's Peak?
We have been looking, and I know that's what we'll have to come back with. The roofer that's looked at it said it's built that way, and he can see where.
I was
it
just curious to the design,
Yeah.
been able to find one or not.
Yeah, me too. So, the roofer said it was originally, looked like it was there. But so far, we don't have a picture.
So for the,
Caroline, if you could go to the 650 Jackson Street picture of the house, you'll see a second floor railing that's out of wood, I believe.
It is about that, it is wood now, but it was originally metal. This person owned all the metal work, so this is a very unusual situation. He took down the metal and put up the wood. But it's because, well, this person had that, whatever that roofing company was. And so it was sort of just kind of a signature for him. But that's not in any other house, just that one.
so I will say, if I heard correctly, this particular picture doesn't represent the proposed metal, so they can vote to allow metal, but I would then have to be told to do design review, like they need an actual example of what's being proposed, and so that would come back in. And that's historically on a rear detail, that is something that the board has authorized before, if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, we would have to be willing to allow staff or B to review that specific handrail once it came in.
Yeah.
Without having to come back. to
Yeah.
the commission. I'm doing, I guess, concrete brick veneer.
Correct.
I didn't have any other questions, any other? Questions?
Does this also address the awning?
The awning as well.
Does-
Let me just ask you, how are you gonna tie that lattice into that set of steps?
Behind where the stairs are, we would do block. I mean, it's open. I don't know if we have a picture of the original. but
Yeah, I saw that earlier.
With the fill in.
There'd only be two lattice panels to the left of the stairwell, and then it would be.
Everything would be enclosed.
So where the stairs are going, that's gonna be brick
That's correct.
and then a lattice panel.
Yeah, probably the pier at the corner, lattice, and then
Yep.
where the steps start, you're about to fill in with brick.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do it.
So So when we do the motion on this, the rail would be approved by Dr. Swoops, and also the bracket holding that awning up would be approved by you?
Is the bracket different than what's proposed here? Or is it going to follow the design that was submitted?
But, yeah, as long as it's cohesive with the house.
Okay.
My guess is that's a pre-made architectural element with that program that's just put up there. Yeah, so, yeah, so they could either make it look like that, or they could bring you
Okay.
We could, the actual, we could bring.
you'd probably be better off to bring the actual.
I do that on
to Dr.
that, the
Swoops.
rails. The right, you know, the stairwell, would be,
So we'll make a motion on the approval of the handrail and the awning, and let, staff approve the design of the handrail and the corbel.
And the court.
Did you get that?
Yes,
Okay.
I'll
I
second.
got that.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Let me make sure I've got,
Opposed.
so you're Patty, but I don't know who's with you.
I'm Sydney,
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure I had it right in my notes because I'm trying to make sure I've got, okay.
we'll be seeing for the next year.
Okay.
I've got a project management.
You guys have been busy on the painting.
I mean, it's not gonna be pink. Shock me too. The painter wanted it pink, so we did that. As a joke. Apparently not a very funny one.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you. And I will get those COAs out to you next week. And we will touch base on the railing design and whatever you decide for the corbel. And when you get ready to do the front house, we can work through that one before it's submitted in. And I will see if I can find any images too. I've got it in one place I can look. I'll see what I can find.
So we can.
Yeah. 422 Vine Street, Northeast. House is located in Old Decatur District and was constructed in between 1909 and 1912, based on map images. By 1952, the house was converted to a duplex, which removed the original front door and all windows on the front facade. Added 2 front doors, one for each unit. The front facade was given a brick veneer, and the front porch floor was removed, and a concrete slab was poured, which required steps from the porch to the front door. Owner met with staff and Architectural Review Board architect 2 years ago to discuss altering the front of the house to reflect the building's return to a single-family unit. At that time, the documents required for COA submittal were discussed, as well as the design standards for work within the district. Stop work order was placed last month when property was being remodeled without a building permit or an approved COA. So we have 6 COAs on the agenda for this property. Because there are no known photos of the house before it was remodeled in the 20th century, some of the design review guidelines for the remodel will be for new construction. Those that specify that neighboring houses similar in style should be reviewed and used as baseline patterns for new construction. So the first COA for this is replacement of porch supports. This is what was on there, these Victorian turned ones. They are likely not original to this property because of their height and the change in the porch elevation. Decatur's design review standards, and this shows you what has currently been placed there. Porches 12.7, if a porch is missing, use accurate historical documentation such as photos to reconstruct it. If no such evidence exists, use similar dwellings as examples to achieve an appropriate porch design. Staff assessment, similar houses in the district have either turned Victorian posts like those removed or simple Tuscan columns. Either could be appropriate. Was unable to locate any historic precedent for the slender square post within our districts that you see with new construction. The Architectural Review Board has approved fiberglass supports on more than one occasion, particularly when the original supports are missing or are too damaged to repair. And so that is something to keep in mind as discussing any sort of porch supports.
I think looking at the guidelines, for me, and knowing that this porch is dropped, we have a height that's unusual for those small turned columns. I'd almost lean more towards a Tuscan type column in this situation that could give a little bit of size to it based on the height we're trying to the height that's existing on that porch. The other ones look a little skinny.
So would you say 8-inch or 10-inch?
Do you have a dimension on that?
I don't, Mr. Williams, you
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
come up, because he's got a question, but I can't answer it.
I'm sorry.
Um,
Can we come up?
Yes, sure. I was asking about the height of those columns. What's the dimension from the slab?
They're
to-
right at 8 feet.
8 feet,
Mhm.
yeah, 8 inches,
Yeah, and so the ones that I had put up was like a 6 by 6.
yeah.
Which, like you said, that those smaller columns, especially the one on the left, the porch started sinking, the roof started sinking, and was rotted extremely at the bottom, which made everything kind of, not measurable from the slab on up to equal. And so the 6 by 6s just, finished it off, looked great, and then, like I said, the skinny, ones that we carry at Home Depot, because I'm a Home Depot supervisor, so it's like, they're on aisle 14, so, it's kind of like, they're square, but have a little turn in the middle, and, but yeah, it just didn't make it, they was fixing to fall too, so I was like, just didn't want the roof to collapse either, so.
Yeah, the square ones aren't gonna work for this situation. Just solid 6 by 6s. But I know that Home Depot may even sell those fiberglass round columns.
Permacast?
Yep.
Are you talking about like that?
Mm-hmm. And you can get the Tuscan, they're structural,
Mhm.
you can put those in.
Yeah.
And then the round one is what you really need for this situation. Which is what they were trying to do with the original ones with the turning. You got square at the top and bottom, but the main part you see is that turn section.
So that's what leans it toward, is the little turn in the middle, leaning toward the
Because
round
a lot of
column.
times those came and they were flat on the bottom because there was a handrail that
Mhm.
went into it.
Right.
So because of the trims that died into it, they made those flat portions on the column.
Yes, sir.
But the whole point was to have a round column. It just made an easier connection for the other trim pieces.
Okay.
Since all that's gone, the porch has been dropped. That's just my opinion, is leaning towards that Tuscan, 8-inch Tuscan column.
And that has a little simple capital
Yes.
at the top of it. Just curious, did you ever consider raising the floor of the porch back up where it was? Too much
Wow.
cost? Yeah.
You already know the answer to that. It's
Yeah.
like, you're like, oh, yeah. And of course, that would be, if you did that, it would, to me, visually, it would squat the whole, and then the roof, to me, would have to be changed. I mean, you kind of get into a domino effect to me.
Yeah, you'd have to change all that. If the porch came
Everything.
up, then the roof would have to be adjusted too.
So whenever they did all of that, everything was, those are, they solid brick the front, whoever, and then asbestos shingles on the sides and the back. So, somewhere between 1914 and 1916, I think, per archives down on the Bank Street, that when it was constructed by, I think it was a dentist called Mr. Cartwright. He built it for his wife. I don't know. That's as far as we could tell. But yeah, it's just like, You know, they didn't do anything with it, they, you know, so neighbors are like, hey, thanks for, you know, at least mowing your grass and landscaping a little bit, so, you know what I mean? So, you know, it's a, yeah, so, you know.
Well, we got to, I guess the easiest thing to do is just make a motion for what's being submitted. Mhm.
I think there would be two for this, and one is a motion on what was submitted, and if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying then you want to make a motion on a Tuscan one that then I could work with him directly at that point if it was approved
Correct.
as the alternate.
If he's willing to
Okay.
have the COA amended to
Well, it wouldn't be amended, it would be a separate,
separate.
because there's already one here in place, I don't think, unless Ruth, I'm making mud out of it, I don't need to. I was thinking that if it's a retroactive one, they need a clean vote on that and then a separate vote on the proposal because it's a retroactive.
Unless he,
Okay.
if he's willing to amend it to change it to exactly what they want, then they can vote on that. But if he doesn't want to amend it, then they need to vote on that motion
And we don't have the images to show him what they're
Correct.
talking about.
So it's like a, you're saying an 8-inch round permacast that Carolina, that I could probably actually maybe.
What you can do is you can send me a link and then I confirm with Jacob that we've got all the details right because he's
Okay.
a commission architect, he needs to
Yeah.
confirm that the column capitals and the base are the correct ones.
Okay.
Before I can sign off on it.
And the permacast ones, they have emphasis on them, don't they?
You're talking about the astragal at
The grips.
Slightly thicker in the middle and
yes,
tapers.
it's slightly tapered at the top.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
you
so
don't
they're,
want to
yeah,
get a
no,
straight.
they're
yeah,
not perfectly
you get a
straight
tapered
sticks,
one.
yeah,
Yeah.
they taper.
Okay.
So what it
I
is,
might
it'll
have to-
start out 8 and it'll gradually taper off to 6 or something at the top.
It's your standard one there, as long as it's got,
Yeah.
it's called emphasis, it goes up a little bit as it gets taller.
Respectfully saying that I can't envision this.
Here,
with-
I
with
can
it-
show you a.
It don't really
give me a
sound
second.
appealing to.
I can show you one, they're different on the tops, but it'll show you at least how they.
Yeah.
Right, give me a second. These have a slight, they're hard to see, but they.
But they
they're
do
not-
taper
Yeah, they
at the
taper
top.
just a little bit.
It's just barely.
It's faint.
Oh, okay,
Just
so
a
like
little.
8 to 6 maybe?
Do what now?
About 8 to 6 inches, that's what you're talking?
8 to 7,
Just a little bit, not even much you could probably even tell, right? I mean,
yeah,
it's-
it doesn't scream at you,
But you can tell.
it looks really bad when it doesn't taper,
Mhm.
because it just goes straight up.
Are you saying that it has a capital too, maybe? Does it,
Yeah, there's
Yes.
a capital.
It does? has a small capital, and on the bottom it would have a,
You can order it with it, so you'll order the shaft and you'll order the Tuscan base and the Tuscan cap.
correct, okay.
So those slip on, you attach the column and then
Yep.
you push those up and down and attach the.
Okay, yeah, I get it now.
And what I can do is I can go in, we've approved those, well, most recently Dupers had those, but I think Darcy had hers the year before, and there's at least one other on Now Street maybe, so I can pull the records on those three and find
Yeah,
out
take a look
specifically
at
what
it.
it was, and then we can figure out if they're the right dimensions.
Okay, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And the one good thing about those is they'll never rot.
They'll never think, yeah, I know,
Yeah.
right, those are,
So that you don't have to worry about that.
right. Yeah, that was pretty bad.
Do you want to just start out with just the way it's submitted now and then
Yeah.
add to it to keep it clean?
yeah, we'll keep it clean, so do one for as now and then one for the Tuscan, so we've got the two on there.
So, I make a motion to approve the column porches as submitted in the COA.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? No. Now
Okay,
can you
so
make
then
a-
let's do the Tuscan.
Make a motion to approve Tuscan columns as a replacement to the columns presented with a review by staff and board architect before installation.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So what that means on this one is I will, next couple days, I'll dig up that material
Sure,
and then I
yeah.
will get you, and we'll get moving on that,
Okay,
that
that's-
portion of it.
That sounds good.
Might as
All
well
right.
stay there.
Yeah, I might as well, yeah. Hey, I'm good with it. It's funny because I barely even have a speeding ticket in my life, and I'm 53, and I'm gonna stand before the board, and I'm like, if I may approach the bench. I mean,
422 Vine, this is for the porch ceiling. It's applying beadboard to the porch ceiling. Typical porches, it's replacing kind with appropriate materials, but this is not the original porch. This is, what he is left with that a prior
Board,
owner
yeah.
had done. And so then it's, well, what is appropriate within the district, what is appropriate with neighboring houses, and beadboard porch ceilings are very common throughout the Old Decatur district and would be considered an appropriate finish in this case.
I did purchase that from Litchell Lumber. It's like a 1x3. What was there over it was plywood. Like, it was nasty looking, so it was like, so I'm just trying not to let it be an eyesore. I'm trying to improve it completely, So, and I think I went up a ladder 300 times. Actually, when you nail it in the center and on each side as I'm working up and down, I couldn't hardly walk for about a week and a half, because I guess because I'm 53, so.
Is your plan to paint or stain?
On the brick, sir?
No, on the,
Stain. Or whatever, but
Is that appropriate for the district?
We're more likely to have paint, but there are some examples that are stained, and it's not typically something that is as visible from the street, so I have not yet heard the commission ask more nuanced questions on that particular design detail.
you'd actually have to go halfway up my sidewalk before you see it up in there, because it's.
It's because it's a low porch, because they dropped the decking on it, so
Yeah.
if it was up high, you would be able to see it, but this one you
Right,
can't,
right.
so.
any other questions? Motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next.
New front facade windows. So this is, when he purchased the property, this is when it had been subdivided, so there are no windows on the front. So he would like windows on the front of his house. And so this is the proposal that showed the door that was put in with the windows. Here's a detail of the windows that were installed. The design review standards, and again, we're going by the sort of new construction with this. Windows and doors in new construction should be compatible in proportion, shape, location, pattern, and size with those of contributing buildings on the block or side of the street. And the use of substitute products may be appropriate, 21.9, 21.10, used materials in traditional ways. 2111, vinyl clad windows may be used in new construction provided they are similar in profile and match historic fenestration patterns. These proposed windows are wood, though, they are not vinyl clad. The staff assessment, the property owner proposes placing the windows in the voids created by removing the two non-historic front doors. And the single 1/1 double hung wood window selected is consistent within the district.
Can you show the front porch picture again? With the,
Hold on, I might have another one. Yep. Oh, that's the brick mold.
okay,
And
yeah, that one.
so you can sort of see one of the windows there. And obviously, he is gonna have to fill in the missing brick below from when that door was removed.
Will you bring that brick up to where the window is, or will it still have that piece across the bottom?
Yes, sir. Let it bring, the windows come very low, not as low, I mean, almost the same as on the inside, the side windows and such. So, yes, they'll, I'll show you a picture.
I just mean that there's like a piece that looks like it's 1x6 or something across the base of the window. Will the,
Talk about
That's
it,
probably-
right.
That's probably flashing, you took the steps out.
Yeah, now this is the old door.
over here?
Yeah, over here.
Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize.
No
Yeah.
problem.
Yes, so, brick would come all the way up to here, just to fill in that, do a drip ledge, that's
So it's
common.
still-
I didn't even see that picture, I was still looking over here.
will say the windows are 1/1 and appropriate with the houses that are beside it. They're in similar style. Looks like the windows were put at the header of the doors that were already there.
Yes, sir.
So you're using that existing header height.
With the lintel, the brick lintel and everything, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, as long as that brick comes up and you get a typical brick window seal. That's all you can do with that since it is brick.
And it's okay, like what I submitted, the brick mold, you know, to what's we have in today's society. I think it was 1 1/4. I think it was.
Other houses would have.
There we go.
There we
probably
go.
by-
1 1/4 by 2 inch.
They're gonna have more casing because they're not brick.
Have brick all the way around.
I mean, they really don't have a whole lot of choice.
There's another house just like yours up the street.
Oh, I hope not.
Exactly, it's a duplex,
Really?
brick front. It's in the next block.
What street is that on? It's on Vine?
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah.
I saw yours and then passed that one and saw whoever owned yours
Uh-huh.
must have owned that one.
Which is, you know, with it being a single house dwelling originally, you know, and it's like when you see, you know, people come by and go, hey, which side do you live on? I'm like, what, you know? And, you know, you want it to look more appealing, you know, that's why it started, you know, my neighbors are just like, thank you for actually caring, because, you know, a lot of people don't care, you know, they're just, you don't want to repeat, you know, what someone else has done, so.
Did you find the brick to match that, or are you planning on painting the brick?
That's yes, I'm asking to paint the brick, and the brick, I have the brick that, what they used to do the steps on the sides is that I've kept that remaining brick, so just use that.
With the same texture?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I know we're not voting on painting the brick yet, but that would also help blend in that larger portion of the window at the bottom. With the rest of the
Yes, it would. It just, and plus too, you know, if you just had brick and then you got, you know, I'm not gonna say pardon my French, but you got those asbestos shingles, you know, on the side, whatever, just like there's a house, I think, on the Delano side, on the left side all the way down on the left, that it has a brick front, but then on the sides, it's got the asbestos shingles, and like, what are you gonna do, you know? So you just, you know, not you're gonna have a company come in and try to remove that asbestos shingles, because just like, I'd have to probably sell one of my legs, one of my kids, something like that, so, you know.
So we're, on the windows, we're ready for a,
Yep. You ready for anything else? Okay, let's do a motion.
make a motion to approve the windows as submitted.
Second.
All those in favor?
New front entry steps. So, because he's adding a new front door, because there wasn't a centered front door, and because that porch was dropped, he needs to add steps to get to it. Nothing has been done yet, so this is not a retroactive COA, this is a proposed. And what's being proposed are half-circle front steps, and this comes under new construction 21 and 2113 that reflects the basic shapes and forms on the block and in the historic districts. The drop concrete floor porches on the front are not found within the district, so he's trying to work with what he has existing. The addition of masonry steps to access the front entrance, which is now raised, is required. Half round front entrance steps are not found on early 20th century buildings within the district, but simple rectangular masonry steps are ubiquitous within the district and would be more appropriate than introducing a new design vocabulary.
How deep is your porch?
Very good question.
It looks like about 8 or so.
Yes, sir. I believe that's correct. I think the reason why I was kind of like thinking about the half moon was because of that. It's like it's not so deep, but you got the half moon, which would be, you know, give you a little more appropriate to actually have the step there and take care of the ups and the downs, but not really so much of a, impeding that, the whole porch, that way.
From an architectural standpoint, I don't think those would be your best friend as far as the aesthetic.
Right.
I think they would stand out not in the right way.
You think so? I was just thinking that as y'all were proposing a round columns, that way go with, I was just thinking of that as more of a half moon step that way. But, I mean, I'm not opposed to I guess a square, step or anything like that. Yeah. As long as you can get up into your house and out of it.
I think there's a couple of ways you could do
Yeah.
a rectangular landing and step there
Uh-huh.
that would complement that house
Okay.
much better than that half-round shape.
Right, so you're thinking more, just like, what am I saying, square, but,
Yeah, probably more something that comes out a little rectangular.
I don't know what the residential code is for landings at staircases, and if
Yeah.
it can be, I know if the door opens in, so it's not opening up over the step.
Mhm.
How that, some people like a little bit more of a landing where you're not just standing on
this is true, yeah.
11 inches when you're trying to get in the door.
Right, and my wife's a little bit of a bull too, so, she trips on,
Saying the whole porch is, how tall is the porch from the,
I did the measurements on it.
I mean, it looks really, like,
It looks like it would have one step.
I mean, no more
Two
than one
steps,
step,
yeah.
and that
Mhm.
would be a tiny step.
Well,
Yes,
there's two. So this is the front doors that he had to remove.
Yeah,
The
these are-
non-original had.
Oh, you're talking about that?
That's a
Yeah.
two-step right there.
Oh, I was
And
thinking,
that's what he's gotta go back with.
There's a one row of brick, another row of brick,
oh, I was thinking.
and then one more step there, like that. So. And that bush is gone.
And so I want to make sure I've got this in the notes correctly, so I understood that you would prefer, though, if it's rectangular, that it be a little deeper than what used to be there, so there's more space to sort of maneuver on that step?
Well, I think that's what
No, I was
Mr.
just
Jacobs.
saying that. I don't
Okay.
know what the building department and what the
Okay.
codes are for that. You have to.
Yeah, my thought would be to not do the semicircle.
The half moon, yeah.
Yeah, and then maybe, I don't know if we can approve something in the interim that is okay by staff, or if we just need to come back with another COA later.
Typically, on minor adjustments like this, there'll be a motion made that would say rectangular to be confirmed with staff and with the commission architect. So that then, and we can work with him in the building department to make sure building department is happy. And, because then at that point, it's gonna be a rectangle, just the exact numbers might shift a little bit based on code requirements. And then the commission architect will review it and sign off on it as long as it's that rectangular shape. So that's what the motion would be.
The old steps that are viewed in the picture there, they were very comfortable, coming out. You didn't feel like you were gonna fall. So, the height difference, I don't think would be a problem. It's, like you're saying, maybe the width too, extending it where it would be appropriate to a door, so, yeah.
I may be wrong, but it seems like I was told at one time, if you're leaving a doorway, that landing had to be like 5 feet, that you couldn't just step out of a doorway onto a step going down. That may not be right, but that's what I remember I was told from the building department on a project that I was doing, that you couldn't just go immediately to a step down. It had to be a landing.
I know it is if the door opens out over the step.
That would
I
be.
don't know about it opening into the house.
I was told it was even opening into the house. That's what I was told.
Yeah.
That it may not be right, but.
That's why I said.
Yeah,
I don't know for sure.
I think we're still okay with the same motion as long as,
Yeah.
as you two are working on the specifics of the size.
As long as the building department, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And, they tell you. They will tell you.
Well, hopefully they know their stuff,
So, make a motion to approve the front entrance steps as a square design to be approved by staff and board architect. prior to installation.
Second that.
All those in favor?
All right,
Aye. All opposed?
Almost there. Second to last one. Action request on this is new double front doors. These are vintage doors. Design review standards, 7 doors and entrances. If historic doors are missing, replacement doors should match the originals. Use historic photographs. Adjacent similar buildings may provide guidance as well. New doors should reflect the style and period of the building. I did go there, there's one source sometimes where I can find historic photos, and I looked for this house and I wasn't able to locate one. I was kind of hoping.
Of my house?
Huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
We,
There's a source that's not cataloged yet that I have access to,
Yeah.
and I was hoping. but
we,
no
we
luck.
were hoping to find one too
Yeah.
years ago, and I was like,
Um,
I've even talked to family members that their daughters live on each side of me. And they're like, hey, and well, no, there was a teacher that used to live on that one side. That don't help any, you know? So,
There is only one set of original historic double doors located in the district at 618 Line, and that actually is an Empire Revival house, which was from 1855 to 1885, so it's a very specific period. The proposed door is ornate when compared to other doors of houses of similar size and construction dates within the district. It features design elements not seen on doors within our district, strong classical reviving detailing with temple pediments around narrow single lights. The design review standards refer to doors on similar homes, particularly those that might be neighboring. The closest compatible house would be next door at 424, which is a turn-of-the-century door with a single oval light, but also common in this period would be doors similar with a rectangular light instead of an oval light. So for example, when looking, it would be the house that you see on the right. That one has an oval door, and it's hard to get a picture because it has a storm, but this is a catalog picture. This is a door that is, almost matching. It's just been painted. And then other doors that are similar from this time period have either a very large light that's rectangle or a smaller rectangular light with paneling below. And so those were the examples that I was able to locate.
This is off subject, but if you look at that column right there,
oh, yes, sir.
a different capital on the top,
Right.
but it's got, you can tell it has emphasis where it's kind of a little bit skinnier.
It sure does. I've never noticed that. Yeah.
It's the next door neighbor's house.
Mhm. Yeah.
Any thoughts? I think the hard thing for me is actually there's two. One, it's a double door, which are not in the district, except for the one spot. Number two, it is a very nice door with just the intricacies, the design, just all the details that are part of it, and it almost overwhelms the house because it's so ornate.
Mhm.
And the house it doesn't have that amount of detail on the house itself, so it
Mhm.
kind of looks out of place. And I always go back to these things, which one of these doesn't belong, and
Mhm.
you kind of going through and looking at it like, oh, it can be kind of easy to pick out, but, I mean, the doors look fantastic. Those
Mhm.
are nice doors, are just not the appropriate one for this particular house style and facade.
I agree with that. Both points.
I have to too. I mean, those are incredible doors. They're just
Yeah.
not appropriate for the house style.
If I may say, I don't like their door.
Oh, the
My,
neighbor's door.
okay, so
Yeah.
the one that Carolyn, there you go. Now, something to the right of that, I might be able to, I think my wife's bougie, you know what I mean? So it's like, okay, I didn't pick, you know, I was like, Lord help me. So if you don't know what bougie means. But what Carolyn's showing on the bottom is very pretty. You know, it's got the, Carolyn, how did you, what'd you call that? Like a panel, it's not paneling you use.
So there's ornamentation on the actual physical door that I have a picture of, the
Correctly,
rectangular one.
yeah.
And then the one that's a drawing has these recessed panels, but it's only on the bottom portion. So that's similar, I mean, it's kind of, you know, the paneling
Yeah.
was on this, but without the additional ornamentation. And then this one has some of the ornate details.
So the one on the right, this sounds like good luck finding one, but, you know, my buddy Garland in Coleman probably has it.
I was gonna say.
He might have one,
he
you
will
know what I
find
mean?
you one,
So
no
I'm like,
doubt.
you know, yeah, he's a nut, but, you never know. But the one on the right, y'all like that one? The sketch or the
I
palette?
think that's much more appropriate.
More appropriate?
Style.
Yeah.
And if you know Garland, he would possibly take those
I know
other
him
doors-
too, I know him too well.
Yeah,
You
you
tell
take
me,
those other doors back on a,
yeah, I know how you,
Trade
yeah.
in, yeah.
Well, I've got a piece of, metalwork that, actually, Mike Wolf from American Pickers picked in Maine. And Garland got it, and I didn't realize it, you know, we were watching American Pickers one night, and I was like, that's our piece of metal. Then I did something inside like over a reading nook, and Garland was like, yeah, I got that from Mike, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So I didn't expect it, but you know, but it's very different. It's more like out of a gate or something, you know, where you can salvage old metal, but actually sandblast it, paint it, make it look really cool, so, you know. So, yeah, if y'all definitely like shooting those doors down, then I can kind of like, because y'all are like, no, this is definitely not working.
Yeah.
Then the sketch on the right that Carolyn presented is really cool looking. If I could find one like that,
I
I'd
wouldn't
bring
rule
it.
the one out on the left either.
Hmm.
If I were you, I think it would look.
Yeah, the picture.
It would look beautiful.
I
with
do
those
like,
columns.
I just don't
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
the
no,
blue and the other. Yeah, but that one's cool though too. Yeah.
And how would you handle, I think you probably expanded that opening.
Yes, sir.
To get those in, so that would have to be brought.
Definitely,
back.
yeah. I just break it into fit, you know, and,
Okay.
you know, for the appropriate jam and all that good stuff, so.
So you need a motion to get this started.
Need a motion?
I'll
So-
make that motion.
I would suggest on this one, two separate motions. The first to deal with its existing state. The second is a motion that would allow Jacob and I to work with him through whatever pictures they send us, and I will look online to see if I can find images to help you work with,
Yeah, yeah.
to get an appropriately scaled and sized door in there, so he doesn't have to come back in front of the
Yeah.
commission on this one.
Is it big, when I go to,
I'm motion for the first one. You gotta deal with that before you do the second.
I'll second the first one.
I need to hear more than us.
Okay.
What's the motion, Ellis, to approve as submitted and then vote on it?
Correct.
Okay,
Approve the double doors as installed and submitted on the COA.
okay, so Ellis, motion, Patrick, seconded, then we have a vote, all in favor?
All those in favor? All those opposed? No.
and I don't know how this proper proceedings go. So the opposed is, the doors is opposed. Everything else we talked about looked good, the columns, the.
Yes, we're just talking about the doors right now.
I started
so-
by my unprofessionalism
No,
here.
no, that's fine.
So I'm just, you know, I ask a lot of questions, you know.
No, that's fine.
So when I go to Garland and I'm like, hey, if you mind, can you send that to me in an email, Karen?
I can, and I'll
Okay.
see if I can find other images so I can give you a range to
Yeah.
work within. So
But I
now
just measure the door.
Jake,
You
I'll
go,
make-
hey, this is a
I'll
36,
make a
or,
motion to-
you know, you don't wanna go smaller than a 36 anyway. Can't get it.
You and staff.
Nothing. And then I'll submit that, that's cool, yeah.
Some of them. that'd be
So now I
good,
need
too.
a motion
That'd be
that would
great.
allow Jacob and I to work with him on a door similar to what is on the screen.
Ellis just did that.
Ellis did that, okay, do we have a second?
And I seconded it.
Okay,
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? That's
all right, that passed, so I will get that paperwork and then we'll start
Yeah,
working
thank you. Yeah,
on
appreciate
that. The last COA on this for the evening is to paint the brick Paint the non-historic brick facade. Only the front elevation is brick, the side elevations are not. Decatur's design review standards, 1 under masonry, 112, do not paint previously unpainted masonry surfaces. Staff assessment, with historic masonry, the Architectural Review Board has consistently ruled that painting is not appropriate. However, with non-historic masonry, there has been approval in a very specific instance, and that is the application of mineral paint or lime wash when you have a house that has been altered this severely that we have so many different sidings on them that nothing is matching anymore. And the most recently approved was a case almost identical to this, and that was 1016 Gordon, which is probably the house that you're referring to, which it's right on Delano Park. It has a brick facade.
Oh, at the back of yeah. Hey,
it
can I ask you guys
has-
from Decatur City, is it Delano or Delano?
Delano.
Because we always argue that, but you think that's funny, don't it? Because
I knew when you said.
my wife's not even from here, and she likes to pronounce it like.
It's named after Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Well, it's confusing at home because my wife says pistachio when it's pistachio. You know, that's a nut. And so anyway, you know.
So the house, because it was severely altered in the mid-20th century and had this brick veneer added on the front, it's contrasting significantly with the painted siding on the side elevation. So in that prior instance, the board felt that because the brick veneer had been added and only to the front, and it was incongruous with the house and the district, that applying a treatment to the front to assist that brick in blending in with the rest of the house and the block was indeed appropriate. Mineral paint, potassium silicate, or lime wash, the whitewash would be less damaging to the bricks and wouldn't cause the long-term maintenance issues that paint might. 2 brand names when I reached out to colleagues were Limeworks or Roma Bio, or Evercoat 300 by Edison Coatings. You might be very familiar with all of these. I'm not.
Not those, but I am familiar with Bear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Me too.
It's the best. So come see me.
All right.
Make the motion to approve.
Second. Do you have a question?
I do, I want to discuss a little bit.
Pistachio.
I know that we don't normally paint brick in the district, so, but in this particular instance, based on the vernacular and the houses beside and what's been done, I think that painting it will help it fit in with the houses beside and the vernacular that's there. I would prefer, I mean, if you paint the brick and seal it off, then the brick can't work like it's supposed to. So I do like using the lime wash or something that still allows you to get the texture of the brick, but, you know, it does change the color to it and allows the brick to function correctly. Keeps moisture from building up behind the brick and keeps you from having problems. 'Cause who knows if that was installed correctly or
Right.
has all the appropriate weeds and everything that it needs to have. So that would be my advice, would be to use that particular lime wash.
Where do you get this at? Like,
You guys could probably order it. Do you want me to reach out to my colleagues?
I've never
and
heard
see?
of it before, though. I mean,
It's just a type of coat. You can get it any color.
oh,
You can paint
okay,
any
so
color
it'll
you
look
want,
like
but
paint, like it's painted?
it goes on paint, you can spray it on.
Okay.
You can roll
Just
it on.
breathe.
It just allows the brick to breathe.
Is it about $500 more expensive?
That I don't know.
Huh?
A bucket, 500 bucks.
Holy smoke.
No, they, Acme Brick has it.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure you can get it through Home Depot.
Okay.
So
Is
what
that
I-
a suggestion, or that's what you require me to do?
I would almost say it would be a minute to do that, but I don't know
I think it would improve. And I don't normally like painted brick, but I think it would be a right thing to do in this case. But that's just my
I
opinion.
think he's asking though, is he required to use the Romavio or
Mhm.
can he use
I don't know
regular
if we're
paint?
allowed to,
Just make it
when it comes to,
You
when it
can
comes
make
to
it a
paint,
condition.
we
You don't
normally
have
don't
to
do
do
colors.
brand
but-
name, but you can, the material, like the technical part.
Okay.
So you can say that it needs to be, and I'm coming up, I was doing a Google to see, like Home Depot, it's coming up with lime wash. So it might be just something that's ordered and it's not typically
Yeah, no, we
stocked.
don't carry it, but,
So,
The good news is there's a limited amount of surface that you'll have to.
That's true.
cover.
It's not a lot.
right. I just wondered about the adhesion and everything over a period of time.
No, it's made for that.
It's made-
It's made for masonry.
It's
paint.
better than, okay.
It allows the brick to breathe.
Okay,
Or
cool.
mineral paint, that would do the same, either one.
Okay.
Would cause less
So I think
maintenance
we
on
have
it.
two types and two brands. More of the type, I would agree to the painted brick with using that,
Okay.
one of those two types, which is the mineral paint or the whitewash.
I'll make that part of my motion.
Anything else? Do I have a motion?
Already made it.
Second.
Can I ask one more question? Almost said brother. Can I ask one more question, brother? Now you said whitewash. Now, is that gonna be, that's not gonna give the appearance of like German schmear or anything like that, right? It's gonna be a
No,
solid
it's
color.
solid.
It's solid.
You impressed that I knew what German schmear was?
I know what,
Okay.
I know what German
There you
Shears
go.
is.
I know you do. I'm just impressed that I do, you know?
I am impressed.
Both of these are solid techniques that are used on masonry because they don't cause the same long-term damage with the spalling that you
Right.
get when you try to paint masonry that then creates a maintenance cyclical
Right.
cycle you can't get out of.
Okay, yeah.
I don't think they make brick now that you can paint with normal paint.
Got you.
They say that, we're waiting to see the results.
Hmm.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
All right, motion to adjourn?
Before we make a
They're not
motion
here.
to
We've
adjourn,
got the one on Johnston, but they weren't here, and that was with the shed and the deck. Do we want to just table it till next month, and I'll reach out to them? Thank you.
yes, I would, I guess that's COA number 5 and 6.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to table those two COAs until next month and reach out to the owner. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Before we adjourn this meeting, I want to welcome Patrick Rasco and Michael Rogers to our board. Glad you're here. And
Thank you. And Michael Rogers will be here. I don't know why I was thinking this was a 4:30 meeting. But I realized
we're early.
at 12 minutes till.
it's okay, you made it. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those in favor, until next time.